Well, hello, everyone. It's good to be back with you with another live edition of the WGSN-DB Going Solo Veterans Corner. And of course, I'm your host, retired Army First Sergeant Paul Holbert, coming to you live here from Northern Virginia. And we appreciate you joining in with us tonight, whether it's live or whether you're going to watch us on the recorded show on the many platforms. We appreciate you taking the time to take part with us in the broadcast. And it's because of viewers like you that have allowed us to make the list in Fairfax County of the top 25 podcasts to watch up here. So we really appreciate that. So thank you to our audience. Before we get started, I also want to take a moment to thank our sponsors. First, I'd like to thank Quest Jewelers of Merrifield, Virginia. Quest is located right there at 8431 Lee Highway. And I've been telling you guys all along that these guys do wonderful, wonderful custom work on jewelry. Or if you want something from the showcase, they've got some beautiful stuff there. And my wife can tell you firsthand, as she has a bit of a collection herself. So check them out, see what they got. Valentine's Day is coming. I also want to say a big shout out and thank you to Nationwide IT Services. NIS is a service-disabled veteran-owned small business located here in Fairfax, and it's owned by retired Army Warrant Officer C.K. Park and his crew, and they will help your business with whatever you need, whether it's IT security, program management, 360-degree studies, whatever you need for your business, he's got staff that can do it. So if you're looking for some help, anything business-wise, contact CK Park and his folks right there. There's his number. Give him a call. Tell him we told you to call him. They'll be more than happy to talk with you. So I want to get to tonight's show, and tonight's show is something just a little bit different. You know, we usually throw some curveballs at you every now and then, but as you notice, if you've been watching, we've had a lot more of representatives from different veteran service organizations and other types of organizations. And in fact, a few weeks ago, some of you will remember that we had a gentleman here who owns several businesses right here in Manassas, Virginia, who supports veteran sales and veteran businesses and Wounded Warrior. But I want to bring on tonight's guest, and that's Mary Dellinger. And Mary is a native of Manassas Park, and she attended Mary Washington College, where she graduated with a bachelor's in history, then went on to get a master's of history as well from George Mason, and then a certificate in museum management from the Virginia Association of Museums. So thus, her title at the bottom, Curator of the Museum and Historic Sites for the City of Manassas. So Mary, right now, I understand you actually live in Fredericksburg and you cohabitate with your dog Thor, right?
That's correct, Paul. Thank you for having me tonight. But yeah, that's great. Yeah, I'm coming to you from Fredericksburg.
Yeah, and I really want to welcome you and appreciate you taking the time to come on the show. And you know, having you on is a little different in that, you know, as I talk to you about, we have a variety of guests on the show from a lot of different backgrounds. But I thought, given the importance of the work here that the Manassas Museum does, and the partner museum, the Freedom Museum right here, the Military Museum, that you guys do, I thought it would be great for you to come on and share with our audience, you know, what you've been doing. So I understand that the museum, you know, I used to go into it quite often before, and haven't had a chance to in the last probably year and a half since I've had my knees redone. But I understand you guys, I saw where the museum just went under a massive renovation just reopened during the summer. So can you tell us a little bit about that? What did you guys do?
Sure. Thanks, Paul. So yeah, we did a major, both a renovation and an expansion project that kicked off. I mean, we've been discussing this since I came on board in 2012, but finally the time was right with funding and what the community wanted. So we kicked the project off with the groundbreaking in August of 2022 for the addition that we put on the side of the building. And that opened to the public in July of 2023. So it was about a year worth of construction. And then after July 2023, work continued inside the building on some of the spaces that weren't quite ready yet.
Yeah.
We wanted to go ahead and get the building open to the public because there was a lot of excitement around that. It looked finished from the outside, so we didn't want to lose that momentum that we had. So we then had a second grand reopening in November of last year for the exhibition spaces. So now we're fully reopened at this point, and I hope you can come by soon. You got to see your work that you did.
Yeah, I have to say I enjoyed that, and for those out there, what Mary's talking about is I was given an opportunity to do some guest curator work.
Yeah.
My wife and I both were to study some exhibits and actually examine and research them, and then write the museum exhibit write-up for it, which was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it.
That's great. That was a great project that we did. It was called 50 Years and 50 Objects, a community curated exhibition where we brought on 50 guest curators. Obviously, as you mentioned, you were one of them.
Yeah.
To create an exhibit for us, and it's open through the end of June, I want to say, of this year. So plenty of time to check that out.
Well, I have to say, my wife has already been in there with one of her friends.
Oh,
when
great.
They were downtown a few weeks ago, and she had a chance to go in and look around to see what all you guys have done.
That's
she
great.
actually took a picture of the couple of the exhibits that we worked on. And,
that's fantastic.
Yeah, she said, "Wow," she said, that's really nice what they've done.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. It was a big team effort. If you've never been to the museum before, of course, you won't have a frame of reference. But if you've seen us in the past and you haven't been there yet, I think it's safe to say you'll be really pleasantly surprised about how different the building looks on the inside, how big some of the spaces are now, and the opportunities for the public inside to engage with us at various levels, and spaces for the public to use. So it's really very much a community space now.
Well, one thing I really enjoyed when I first moved here a few years ago, and I think because of safety reasons, they quit doing it, but the reenactment, the Civil War reenactment, the burning of the train they used to do in the parking lot.
Yes.
And I always thought that was something else. But then you guys do so much within the community. I mean, using the museum grounds for all kinds of exhibits, activities for the town.
Right.
You guys have a Civil War, normally a big Civil War display on the museum grounds where people are actually dressed in period dress, and they're set up in tents out there and are staying out there, a lot of them.
Yeah, we've done that in the past. I don't know if we're going to bring that back. I know that everything is on the table at this point with our new setup. But you're right, Paul. We have a lot of stuff that goes on downtown. Of course, anybody that's ever watched the July 4 fireworks downtown, you're probably on the museum lawn. That is the best spot to view the City of Manassas fireworks, best display in Northern Virginia. A lot of festivals will take place. The Viking Festival is one that is getting a lot of traction, where there's a full-size Viking ship on the lawn and people dress like Vikings. We've had the Roar Car Show in the past.
Yep.
All types of things that go on downtown, with the lawn as the feature centerpiece of those events.
Well, that's why I said the museum is such a centerpiece for the town. And I mean, of course, Old Town is not that big.
No.
But when you consider all of the things that you guys do, for the town using the museum, and a lot of those activities you just mentioned, I've actually been to, and walked through a lot of them. The fall festival that they have each year, even the First Fridays downtown.
Yes,
it's pretty busy, and I know you guys get a lot of traffic from that as well.
Yeah, we're hoping that this year, now that we're fully reopened for the first time for the new round of First Fridays, I think they they're lower key in the winter months.
Yeah.
And they have that new setup downtown with that footprint where you can wander around with adult beverages within a certain footprint.
Hmm.
I know there was some discussion on whether or not the museum would be included in that. I don't think that that's happened yet, but we obviously hope that we can somehow be a part of some of the First Friday festivities. I always try to open our exhibits on First Fridays. The first one we're going to open this year will open on the first Friday in March. So we will be open that first Friday with our brand new art exhibit that we have. So we're hoping that we can be a part of those events and continue to ramp up our community involvement.
So what, if you don't mind me asking, can you share with us what that first exhibit will be, the art?
Sure, absolutely. For years now, I think we're in our 11th year this year, we have partnered with the extremely talented students at Osborne High School to showcase the art that they have been working on all year. It's called Artistic Perspectives. And the students work in a variety of mediums: watercolors, painting, photography. Some of them make sculptures, and they self-jury and pick out the best pieces, and we showcase them in the museum. They have to write the labels, very much like what you've done, and we take everything and put it on display in a professional gallery space. I know that just within the last few years, the students have started actually selling pieces off the walls. Some of the art is that good. I bought a piece one year from one of the students. It was very, very good. So we always premiere our calendar year with the spring art show from the students. It runs for a month. It's a short run show.
Yeah.
We'll open that up, and it's usually very, very well received in the community. So I invite everybody to come out that night and check it out.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you, I know in the past, attending, going into the museum and going into all the exhibits, I know in the past, I believe if you were from the city, they usually only took donations from us to go in.
That's
So
correct.
have you guys changed that, or what's the policy now?
We have not changed that. We do not want cost to be a barrier to anybody that comes into our building. So the museum is 100% free for everyone that comes through the doors. Of course, we'll charge if you want to rent any part of the building, as you would for any city space. And if you want a professional guided tour for your group, there is a small cost for that. It's nominal.
Yeah.
But there's no admission fee. We're open right now. We're closed on Mondays, as we usually are during the winter months, but we're open Tuesday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. and on Sundays from 1 to 5 p.m. So you can, we're open quite a bit. The gift store is there. They've got great staff up front to help you out, get you all oriented, sell you the cool stuff we have.
Yeah, and I have to tell you, I have to tell you that gift store there can be dangerous.
It can, I know.
Any time that we've gone in there and my wife has gone in with me, she always has to walk out with stuff from that gift store at the museum.
I bet I buy something up there once a week. I'm up there getting whatever it is, because we see all the product when it comes in the back. They're getting it ready, and we see what they're ordering in advance, and so we know, it's dangerous. Yeah, that's okay though. It's a good kind of dangerous. So
well, and I want to share with everyone out there to tell you that in the gift store, I know a couple of years back, my wife actually bought me one of those beautiful Civil War chess sets that you guys had in there.
Right.
There's a lot of military Civil War themed things in there for sale, because of course Manassas is a big part of the history of the Civil War, which is one of the reasons why you guys have that museum there.
That's correct.
So there's a lot of memorabilia and different things. There's a lot of Civil War memorabilia geared for the kids as well. And I mean, just the stuff that we saw in there. And when you guys have sales in there too, I mean, I got to tell you, my wife she cannot seem to leave that place without a bag full of
That's
stuff.
fantastic.
So,
That's great.
so if you're out there and you're in the area, you guys need to check that museum store out, because it always has a good variety of stuff, to include some historical books and Civil War memorabilia and things of that nature. I always thought that was really interesting, to go in there and see the little Civil War toy soldiers for the kids, and all the way down to the youngsters. There's something for everyone.
Yes, there really is. Our store manager's done a great job, and she's got a lot of new product. So, things that are brand new to us. So that's kind of cool. So I think I've got to stop buying all the T-shirts out of the store, all the different ones. So,
well, like I said, I got one of those very nice chess sets as a gift a couple years ago.
Nice.
That was beautiful, and I still have it sitting in my
good.
living room on my mantle.
Nice.
So for a display, don't get to play that often, but it's a nice display.
Oh, that's true. That would be a nice display piece.
Nice conversation. Oh, go ahead.
Talking about the Civil War, we spent a lot of time, Paul, when we were working on these exhibits about how much emphasis should we put on this. One of the things we wanted to do was to really tell stories that had never been told before. Yeah. So the Civil War story that we have in there now, and I should emphasize that in the new gallery spaces, the main gallery has 5 themes. The themes are designed to be static, but the stories within the themes are designed to change. So we can constantly be turning over, what we're telling. Because if you remember, the old museum was relatively static. It was very difficult to change. Yeah. And once you had seen it, you had seen it. So we're leading with the Civil War story this time that we've never told before. We have a section called Echoes of War. And in there right now is a story of a local Vietnam veteran, Lieutenant Colonel Jerry Martin, United States Marine Corps retired. For those of you out there that might know Jerry, fantastic story about his time in the Corps. We have a story about Liberia House and its Civil War history, another one of our historic properties. Yeah. And we also have the story of James Peters, who served in the United States Colored Troop and was from Prince William County. And we have his musket on display, which is kind of cool, and the story about him. So I'm really excited that we're going to be able to tell these individual stories now about these individual soldiers and individual people that maybe, the civilians, the women that supported, the home front efforts, instead of just this sweeping overall story that doesn't really have that human face to it. So I'm interested to see, as we premiered this approach and we get our tourists in there and our visitors, what their feedback is. Do they like it? What stories do they want to hear? Is there somebody that they know about that would be great to have on our walls? That kind of thing. So I'm excited.
Yeah, I have to tell you, a lot of people don't think about it. And of course, this is a Veterans Corner, and we're here talking about, Civil War history. And of course, we spend a lot of time naturally on here. We have a lot of veterans from, more recent conflicts, Iraqi freedom, Afghanistan, Vietnam. I occasionally have been able to find a World War II veteran. They're getting fewer and farther between. But we don't always think about if we go further back in history, because, our World War I veterans are gone. And of course, the Civil War, where we fought against our own countrymen, all of those people are gone. So that's a type of military history and a category of veteran that we don't think about that often, because none of them are around anymore.
Right. And it's you're left with, whatever primary sources, letters or whatever they would have left behind. And then, of course, accounts of the conflict. And of course, as the nation enters its 250th celebration of the American Revolution, there's those veteran stories from Prince William County that are going to be told by Prince William County and hopefully by the Manassas Museum. So we define our veterans' history very broadly, and not just the people that fought, but also those that stayed behind and supported the war effort. They're a type of veteran adjacent. One of my colleagues.
They're serving in some capacity too.
Right.
If they have a veteran. The other thing I wanted to point out that I thought that the city had done really well, and I don't know if you guys had a hand in this, was the signs down, Center Street and Main Street, where the veterans pictures up there from the city, the past veterans.
Oh yeah, the museum
signposts.
Right.
That was really, really touching.
Thank you. I heard that was the case. The museum provided a few of those pictures, but other than that was not our project. I know years and years ago, this was way before COVID, we did an exhibit called Not for Glory that was on the veterans of the more recent wars. And we had all local veterans. And we also did one on World War One when we celebrated the anniversary year of that. And at that time, during the World War One exhibit, we did banner the poles downtown, and we gave all of those banners to our partner at the Freedom Museum, so they could use those within their building as they saw fit. So hopefully they still have those.
Yeah, I thought that was good. Well, Mary, we're going to take a short break real quick and get a word from our sponsor. So for the audience on there, we'll be right back after this. All right, everyone, welcome back. And today we are talking with Mary Dellinger, of course, who is the curator of the Manassas Museum and Historic Sites for the City of Manassas. And before the break, we were talking a little bit about some of the things the museum has been renovated, reopened, and now has a lot of new displays coming up. But Mary, I wanted to talk about a couple other little things here too that you guys do that, I didn't, to be honest with you, all that time. I know that you guys have a couple of things that you also do, such as the book talks and the walking tours. Can you tell us a little bit about those?
Yeah, that's a great question, Paul. Thanks for asking. We have a fantastic programs coordinator that has put together every year, and we're getting ready to release our 2024 calendar, a very diverse slate of programs. We're actually bringing back the book talks. Thank you, everybody that's been waiting so patiently for that. We had to stop those during COVID, and then as soon as COVID was over, we were closed with no place to hold them. So book talks kick off again next month. We are going to have Kevin Pollack later on this summer, and his co-author, whose name escapes me, they are releasing a new book on the Battle of Second Manassas. They're local. So they'll be giving their book talk right around the time of the anniversary of the battle, right after their book comes out. So great story there with the Battle of Second Manassas. So the book talks are back. We have, of course, all of our other historic sites that we program. So we'll be doing various types of family programs at our Liberia house this year. We hope to get Annenberg Manor. We've worked so hard on that. The Annenberg House, we want to be able to get walking tours in there. We hope to premiere that later on this year. That'll be a first for us. Liberia this year will be open on Saturdays starting after Memorial Day. Used to be once a month. Now it's going to be every Saturday for between Memorial Day and Labor Day. So you can come out and see. That's a great site with a great Civil War history connected to it. So we're doing all of those things, plus what's going on at the museum in terms of tours, our discovery cart that we do a couple times a week. It just, the list goes on and on. It's hard to keep up with what Rachel's doing. She's running circles around me sometimes, so, which is a good thing. So
it's so interesting, with all the history here, and my grandson's talking about coming to visit in March.
Great.
And of course he's an Air Force reservist right now.
Okay.
But he loves military history. And the last time he came up to visit, they had not opened the new Army Museum there outside Fort Belvoir.
Oh, that's a fantastic museum.
Yeah, it's really beautiful.
Yes.
So he's excited about that, but it's interesting. When he was here, we talked to him a little bit about the Manassas battlefield, and we did some drive-bys of some of the areas, and he found some of the sites interesting. I just have to mention something here that I thought was really interesting. The what is it? The Mary, I can't remember the name. One of the historic houses here in Manassas, where the owner, she was actually supposedly killed in the house during.
Oh yes, that's the Henry House.
Yes, thank you. Yep. So interesting enough, I was watching one of those shows, the paranormal camera shows.
Oh yeah.
And there was actually a gentleman here that was here outside the Henry House, daylight, and he was panning along the fence of the Henry House, had his family there, and just talking about the house and where he was at and everything. And as he panned, just almost as clear as day, there was a figure that looked like they were in Civil War period dress. It was a woman in a white dress walking along that fence, and she was halfway transparent.
That's crazy.
Well, the funny thing is, and I don't know if you've ever seen some of the videos they've taken from Gettysburg and some of those other places. The funny thing is, when he first took the video, through his eye, he did not see her. And it wasn't until they got back home and his family was looking at the video that she appeared just clear as day.
That's crazy.
Walking right outside that fence along the Henry House. And I mean, it was just, when I saw that, you can believe what you want, but when I saw that, I went, oh my gosh.
Manassas has some venues that are said to be very haunted. The Hopkins Candy Factory, where the art factory is today, right there on the railroad tracks, that's supposed to be very haunted. We did a paranormal investigation in there last year, and it was at night. We started at 10 o'clock at night. It was very creepy, and we had the lights off and the whole bit. And I went into that very skeptical. But when I left, I told the staff I would never come back in over there again at night. There was just too much unexplained weirdness going on in that building.
See, that's interesting. I did not know that. For the audience out there, see, there's seem to be a whole lot of stuff in Manassas that you can come down and take a look at, including the museum.
Go in there, and if you talk to the staff swears up and down that it's haunted from all the stuff that they've heard. And we do know that being adjacent to the railroad tracks like that, there are some very definitive accounts of horrific train versus automobile accidents right outside, where 4 young men were killed right there. And they really feel like that could be who it is. And then, of course, that building is built on the site of a Civil War encampment where in the summer of 1861, when all of those Confederate soldiers were arriving, there was a lot of disease going around from, the unsanitary conditions. And so it's built right over top of a place where a lot of people probably died as a result of that. So, And then, of course, the battlefield, as you were mentioning,
Yeah.
that goes without saying that there were a lot of people that died out there. So again, believe what you will. I know that one of my colleagues likes to say that in certain places the veil is thin between this world and whatever else there is, if you believe that kind of stuff. So this house that I'm in here in Fredericksburg, that I'm coming to you from, the young man that owned it before me died here in a fire. And there have been some unexplained things in this house that I just kind of try not to think about. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And
So
I just think that's interesting, though, about the history here in the city.
oh, definitely.
And you guys being such a big part of that. So you have you also have the partner opportunities within the city too, of the Freedom Museum. And so when you guys do the Freedom Museum, and then you also have the Volunteer Fire Museum as well.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. We've partnered with both of those institutions, Paul, on past exhibits. And I'm always looking for ways to partner with anybody because that makes us stronger. Everybody brings something to the table. So like we did an exhibit years ago in 2016, I think it was, called Protecting Manassas. And it was about the police, fire, and rescue services. Well, the Fire Museum really stepped up with some fantastic stuff that they loaned us that would not have been possible out of our own collection. So that was a great partnership with those guys. They're wonderful. The same thing with the Freedom Museum. We've partnered with them before on loans and, that type of thing. I'm hoping now that the Freedom Museum is downtown and they're closer to us than they were when they were out at the airport. They've moved facilities.
Yeah.
That there will be some opportunities there now that we are nearby. We're just blocks away. So.
Yeah. So for anybody that's not familiar, what Mary's talking about is there's a small military museum just about a block and a half or a block from the actual Manassas Museum, right across the railroad tracks. And a lot of history in that building because it used to be Prospero's Books for years. And then they put the little museum in there, the Freedom Museum, which honors, our veterans and their past history. And there's some really wonderful exhibits in there. And I have to give a shout out to one of our past guests, Pete Anastasi, who lives here in Manassas. Bless his heart. He's now 102, I think.
Yeah,
he appeared on my show. World War II veteran with his wife. And oh my gosh, they were such a sweet couple. And they actually had some stuff from he and his wife in the Freedom Museum to include her wedding dress and his uniform that he wore home from World War II and some other things and some pictures and articles up. So, I mean, there's so much history here. And, Pete was from this area too. So, there's so much history here, both in the big Manassas Museum, the Freedom Museum, the Fire Museum. So there's so much here that people can come and see. And I think you guys are providing a really good service in what you're doing.
Thank you. One of the things we've also tried to do, and for those people that are here at the odd times, like you might be downtown for dinner and we're closed, or it could be, a Monday when we're closed or a Sunday after church. We have worked very hard to put those historic markers that you see all around key spots downtown that talk about our history. Some of them are Civil War related, and we're part of that Civil War Trails Network. Some are city signs that talk about the city's history. And then new to this network of signs is all of our Black history signs that tell the story of the African-American community here in town, a relatively undertold story up until recently. And so those are available. You can just walk up anytime and see this great history. And a lot of people, I think, don't have any idea about some of the historic ground that they're standing on. So we're seeking to educate through that forum as well.
So I have to ask you, what is the next big thing you guys are planning now?
The next big thing we're planning. I've always got something planned. Of course, I have to come up with a way now that we have this fancy new building to keep those exhibits fresh and to keep on rotating them. So that's going to be a fairly big project for me. I would say the next big thing we're planning is to unveil Annenberg Manor to the public. We've worked so hard on this house,
Yeah.
bringing it back. I don't want to say from the brink of falling down, because it wasn't that bad, but it was getting sketchy on the inside. So the city's worked really hard to be a good steward of that property. And I am really excited to, of course, the grounds are open now. I'm excited to start working on the historic markers for the grounds so people will know what they're looking at. But I'm even more excited to get people inside the house so they can see what we've been working on for the past 2 years. So that's my next big project, is to get that house open. So
Well, I have to tell you, my wife has driven by there a number of times, and she's always going crazy wanting to go in there and look at that place. She goes, "Look at this beautiful building," and the fact that they're fixing it up now.
Yeah,
It's
going to be fantastic, and people will be able to use that for whatever. You can rent it for an event, wedding, whatever.
Wow.
Yeah, so we've worked really hard. We didn't quite finish it last year. We put in an ADA compliant ramp on one side of the building, so we have to finish that off in order to allow access to the house. And then there's some other work we have to do to curbing and the driveway, and that kind of thing. Once the weather gets warm, and then I think we'll be good to go. So, and I'm crossing my fingers that we can put a park style restroom out there to make it even more, enjoyable for people. Because right now there isn't a bathroom on that site. So
yeah,
we'll be working on that. So yeah, so it's every time I turn around, we're getting ready to look. We're looking at the inside of the Southern Railway Depot as well, where the train depot is. That's another one of our buildings. I have to get an exhibit back in there. We took it out during the renovation because the museum store needed somewhere to go.
Yeah.
So my exhibit gallery inside the train depot is currently closed because it's empty. So I have to envision an exhibit for that. I was over there today looking at the space and measuring. So that's another big project I've got coming up this year to get that building fully reopened to the public.
Well, you guys, I mean, I have to tell you, and I can say this firsthand, having been in a lot of these places, you guys are really doing a lot around the city, and I think it really bodes well for the city itself.
Oh yeah.
And I have to ask you though, so
sure,
you live in Fredericksburg.
I do. Yep.
So what do you and Thor like to do when you're not working?
When we're not working, well, Thor's a bit of an old man, so he's about 13. So he to get him around 2 blocks is a massive undertaking. So what I like to do when the weather is warmer, of course, I am a Mary Washington College graduate, so I live adjacent to the university. I do attend some of their sporting events, and alumni-centric things here. Fredericksburg is much older than Manassas. It predates the Revolutionary War, and they have a lot of historic sites downtown.
Sure.
And of course, the river here it's the 4th largest river in Virginia, the Rappahannock that we sit on. So there's a lot of recreational activities. So I like to head downtown on the weekends, especially on our First Fridays. It's very similar to Manassas, where all the restaurants are open, live music, that kind of thing. So I like to do a lot of that when the weather's nice. When the weather is cold, I have a stack of books in this house that hold my attention. Right now, I am wading through Doris Kearns Goodwin's Team of Rivals about Abraham Lincoln and his cabinet, which is a really good book. I'm usually out and about here when the weather's nice. You'll find me downtown doing downtown things. There's Manassas, like Fredericksburg, there is always something to do. You just have to know where to look. From music to arts, we have 26 parks in Manassas with all types of offerings, from pickleball to basketball, all that stuff. So if you say you're bored, it's because you're not trying hard enough to figure out what to do. So,
well, let me ask you this.
Sure.
Mary, as we get ready to close the show, and you've really given us some good information on what the museum's doing and what the new plans are. But I wanted to ask you, if you had one thought you'd like to leave for our audience, what would that be?
Sure. So I think my final thought would be that museums and historic sites are important to communities that matter, and Manassas matters. And one of the things that our team at the museum has worked really hard to do is to create a museum that is of, by, and for the community. It's not my museum, it's your museum.
Yeah.
And to that end, all voices matter inside our walls. So we want you to come by. We want you to know that you will see yourself in our programs, in our exhibits, and in the things that we do, and from starting now and in the years to come, and that we want to hear from you. So if you have an idea about what we're doing or what we're not doing, let us know, and we'll write it down and take it into consideration.
Well, thank you, Mary. I really appreciate that.
No problem.
And
Thank you.
I appreciate you taking the time to join us. I hope to be seeing you myself here soon.
I hope so too. You got to let me know when you're going to come by.
Yeah, I mean, I'll start making my way around again. I've signed up to volunteer at the Army Museum here in the near future. And, I like to get around town now a little bit more once I'm able. So I hope to do that. And I really, really appreciate you taking the time to share with us this evening.
Thank you for asking me. I appreciate for the opportunity. This is my first ever podcast. And this was exciting. I enjoyed myself.
Well, hopefully you'll get some more as the time goes.
Maybe.
All right. And for those of you in our audience out there, as you know, as we close each show, normally we will provide you information to help you, either the veterans or veterans' families. And I wanted to share this with you. I thought this was interesting. Together We Serve, now that's togetherweserve.com, enables veterans to share and preserve their stories for free. So if you go to the website, on the VA website, it will take you there, and they have a program where you can actually fill out and provide information, and it becomes a living history for you as the veteran, as part of the Veterans Administration. I have to say, the Army Museum outside Fort Belvoir has a very similar program to where you can provide your information and you can become part of their permanent registry of veterans there for the museum. So something similar. Take a look if you get a chance, if you're interested. There's always something out there. And, it's always good to preserve some memories of our veterans and their service for their loved ones and their families and their upcoming generations. So just a reminder. I want to thank the audience also for joining us this evening. You've been watching the WGSN-DB Going Solo Network on the goingsolonetwork.com. So we hope that you will join us again on our next show. And for you veterans out there, as always, thank you for your service and for the support of your families. So everyone, we hope to see you next time.